And now, ladies and gentlemen, we're back in business with a community showdown featuring the Warriors of Chaos, who shall be led by Gedat Mule. And today, my friends, he faces off against Newport and the Dark Hordes of the Vampire Coast. Now, as far as the Chaos build goes, frontline is going to be a combination of Marauders, and I thought I saw some Chaos Warriors, but no, those are actually Forsaken. So it's going to be Forsaken on the flanks, and yeah, I actually don't, hate Forsaken here against the Vampire Coast. They have some decent armor values at 85, so if they do get hit by bombers, it's not going to completely destroy them. It'll still hurt them pretty bad, but they do have some durability there. On top of that, pretty high DPS, good flanking potential. You can get them up around the back, get onto the gunline pieces, and they do a lot of damage. If you look at Forsaken, they have 65 weapon strength and a charge bonus of 40. It's just, they're kind of like a glass cannon unit. If you look at their model count, they only have 60 models compared to Marauders, which of course have 90, and I believe most Chaos Infantry are like 75, give or take. Yeah, 75 from Mirror Guard, which is the same for Chaos Warriors. But yeah, pretty cool inclusion there of the Forsaken. I definitely dig it. Oftentimes, you sometimes see the Demon Spew, the ROR Forsaken mixed in there just to get a little bit of spice in your build. But it's going to be a classic spawn rush with Marauders. It's very powerful. Spawn are tough to break. They don't really care about bombers. Yeah, handgun mobs can certainly tear them down, but with enough of them, you can reach a pretty solid threat overload and really tear through the front line. Up here, we got the Big Bird, Sartorial the Ever-Chicken with Final Transmutation. Always a good choice. I mean, direct damage that you just have to point and click is never really a bad thing. And against Vampire Coast, you can certainly nail some big targets like the Shade Wraith Gunners, some of the Krabos, or even Luther Harkin up here in the sky. Now, interesting choice here. We got two Exalted Heroes on foot. And foot characters have had some popularity against Vampire Coast. Oftentimes, you do see the Exalted Heroes on the Manticores instead, which can make them a little bit more durable and actually able to beat Luther Harkin in pairs of two. So, but yeah, on foot, kind of a cool choice. They do have the Silver Shield, so we'll see how they do this battle. So that is it. We got Spawn, we got Big Bird, we got two Feral Manticores up in the sky, and that appears to be it. So for Coast, pretty classic stuff. We do have the dreaded Luther Harkin. Front line is going to be Deckhand Mob. Secondary line is Bombers. Very, very standard stuff. Bombers are excellent at just doing damage against any number of targets. Very, very good unit. But nonetheless, they'll certainly be able to Shrek some of these Chaos Marauders. Two Handgun Mobs and the Shade Wraith Gunners in the back. We do have some El Crabo Stabo back here. So we have the Lamprey's Revenge, a nice roadblock piece. Pretty much if anything is trying to bully through your ranks, you can send these crabs in. They will stop them cold dead there in the water. Vampire Fleet Captain with the standard Invocation and Raise Dead, and it is also going to be a Carronade that is a little bit obstructed, so slight misplay there. The Halberd mobs are standing in front of the cannons, and the cannons don't want to shoot their pals, which, good on them. So here the battle has been initiated by Luther Harkin. There's no Marauder Horsemen or real mobility with, anti-air really to deal with Luther Harkin, so Luther is basically just hunting down the Feral Manticore, but the Chaos player, Gedat Mule, going to be pulling in the other Manticore to try and 2v1 Luther. Luther will probably win this, but he'll take some serious damage. He'll probably go down to like 40-50%, give or take. Manticores, aren't slouches, but if these were the Exalted Heroes on Manticores, they would be exponentially more durable with the armor values and melee defense and whatnot. Plus, they would also have 500 plus weapon strength with the Mark of Khorne. So we'll kind of keep tabs on this, but you can see Luther is certainly taking some damage, but he should win that. And as far as gold, too, Luther does cost more than two Manticores, far more. So he probably should win that in terms of balancing and whatnot. Anyways, here Marauders coming in, Spawn rushing in as well under a hail of gunfire. These are not Halberd mobs, so they're certainly going to get torn to shreds pretty bad by the Chaos Spawn, but Bombers are coming in as well. The Mirror Guard trying to find an opening up the middle, but yeah, the Bomber salvos are quite nasty. You can see here, the Chaos Spawn definitely taking a ton of HP damage, but that is because of the handgun mobs, and Big Bird is actually dove into the back line, which is a great play. You go back here, you blob them up on you, and you cast the Final Transmutation, which is going to be nailing. Looks like the caster just barely got out there, so nice play there by the Vampire Coast. But nonetheless, the Final Transmutation is going to be nailing Shade Wraith Gunners, who are ghostly units with very low HP pools, and it's also going to be tagging Lamprey's Revenge and doing huge damage. So that was a really, really good cast there by the Chaos player. Now on the flanks, we do have the Forsaken coming in. Forsaken have collided over here, and look how quickly they do tear apart these type of units. Normally, it feels like it takes 45 minutes to freaking take down a Zombie Pirate Gunnery mob, but in this case, the Forsaken, up to 65 kills, doing huge damage. And up on the top side of the battlefield, the Forsaken are going into the Bombers and should be able to deal with them. Granted, maybe going into the handguns back here would have been better. Granted, these are summoned Zombie Pirate Gunnery mobs, so I suppose he made the right choice by going into those Bombers. So if we look back here, you can see Luther Harkin has taken about 60% HP damage. He was able to defeat those Manticores, but they're coming back, so at the end of the day, that's really not a terrible trade for Chaos, unless that Manticore runs off the battlefield, and then that's going to be a pretty unfortunate trade. Here we do have the Mirror Guard getting into the Shade Wraith Gunners, and the front line for the Vampire Coast is certainly buckling. Granted, balance of power is pretty even at this point. Yeah, I would say right down the middle. The two Manticores being lost. Of course, a lot of damage on the Spawn. Yeah, I think this one group of Spawn is still holding on, but another group of Spawn appears to have been completely destroyed. And the one on the top side is doing a little bit better, but a nice summon here of these Zombie Pirate Gunnery mobs is certainly shrekking them, but here comes a fat, erect Chaos Charge. The mutated charge. The Forsaken plus the Spawn charging in there and able to just tear through those guys. And now we got Marauders pushing into the back line. certainly a very tough scrap. Granted, Chaos does fall a little bit behind on the bounce of power, as we do have a bit of a gooning attempt over here. The Exalted Hero is hornswaggled, so somehow he's tricked by Luther Harkin, and Luther just such an insane assassin, able to come in and just take out this heavily armored, high melee defense character very, very quickly. So there goes that Exalted Hero. So at this point, I mean, it looks like if you look at the ground, it feels like Chaos is in a pretty good position, right? All the Vampire Coast really has left are some halberds back here, as well as a carronade. And they're single entities, so there's going to be Luther plus his Crabcaster. But for the most part, Chaos appears to have a lot left. However, as far as real stopping power goes, we have the Exalted Hero, we have Big Bird, and the Manticore is getting caught by Luther Harkin again, unfortunately. If the other Manticore was here to help, perhaps they could get a good 2v1 scenario. And now we do also have the Exalted Hero making his way downtown to help out in this fight. And the Lamprey's Revenge haven't lost any models yet, which is pretty crazy, but they're about to start losing models pretty quickly. Obviously, the models can lose HP separately, and that's why you don't always see like one guaranteed die when they reach a threshold here. So the various Crabos here are finally going to get stabboed here, but the big Warp Chicken bringing that sweet KFC beatdown. He doesn't have the best AP values, but nonetheless, he still packs a wallop and should be able to bring down those Lamprey's Revenge with a little bit of spawn support and infantry help. Now with the back line, you can see Chaos has sent the last of its spawn back here to go after the carronade. Certainly not a bad idea. They will be going down, only 600 HP, but that's why Chaos spawn are so good. Is that they're unbreakable. So here they're able to, get that value, take out the carronade, which in many ways just pretty much pays for themselves, despite all the other damage they've done. If they can get that carronade down, that's going to be Value City. Helping this guy here, we do have the Luther duel versus the Manticore, and the Manticore certainly did not put up much of a fight. It was not the Exalted Hero, but nonetheless, it tried its little heart out here. And the poor Manticore is going to be strewn across the battlefield as Luther Harkin comes back and goes to goon the other Exalted Hero. Now, Exalted Heroes are rocking 45 melee defense, 100 armor, and Luther Harkin is rocking 44 melee attack, but he's on a Deathshriek Terrorgeist, which isn't like as dependent on the bonus versus large as the traditional Goose is. So he should be able to get this fight here. And there's no other support for Chaos, so this is to be expected. I mean, there's two spawn here, but aside from that, the Exalted Hero really does stand alone here. Now, Warp Chicken's going to be going in. Chaos has a fair amount of troops here on the ground. Forsaken, Marauders, Exalted Hero, and the same thing going on over here. We have a lot of Chaos Infantry, and the bounce power is heavily in the favor of Coast, but that just is showing the true value and power of Luther Harkin plus his Vampire Fleet Captain here. And maybe if Big Bird is rocking a final transmutation, maybe so. I mean, the Crabcaster is going to be really tough to kill too. 120 armor, 50 melee defense, the capabilities of healing itself, but a really nice final transmutation going down, which may be able to nuke the Carronade. Carronade taking some pretty heavy HP damage as it is also inundated with infantry. And we have Big Bird going fisticuffs, trying to battle the old boy Luther. 3,500 HP, Big Bird at 1,300. Big Bird isn't bad in combat. 60 melee defense is no joke. But, Luther does have a fair amount of armor and, of course, is able to poison him most likely once they start actually fighting here. And we'll see how that all unfolds. But, yeah, Coast has some halberds. They have some deckhand mobs, and they have a carronade here. I don't know. I mean, I feel like Luther's probably going to be able to carry this. Big Bird only has 800 HP, and I know there's a ton of Chaos Infantry here, but terror routing is a thing. And the other big variable that's really tough is the fact that the Crabcaster is so healthy, which means that, there's probably potentially an invocation and or more summons here on the battlefield, which would allow Luther Harkin just to wreak havoc on these troops here. So there goes the carronade and the zombie pirate deckhand mobs. We have a nice breath attack coming down from the big flyer up in the sky. And yeah, now he's probably going to get the charge here on Sartorial, the Ever Chicken, who appears to be trying to butter up these forces maybe for another AoE blow, but I don't think he has the Winds of Magic. We've seen, I think, 2 or 3 final transmutations this game. I don't know if the first one was overcasted. That would be a big factor as well. But the Big Bird is at 245 HP. Luther Harkin here probably going to bust a cap on this chicken. And yeah, I don't know how much longer he's going to last. 169, so it looks like he may have taken a pistol shot right there, which of course doesn't do as much damage as the Goose attacks. And 92 HP. All the Chaos Forces are piling in. I mean, the Vampire Fleet Captain's a little bit low, but man, that's like all they have left is Luther. And there's 2 Exalted Heroes here. It's kind of like hard to believe that the balance of power is this bad. Like, I feel like the 2 Exalted Heroes plus all these infantry would eventually win this fight, but they're so close to army losses, which is quite crazy. Only 15 HP here on the chicken, which is a big problem because Luther's just going to pull back up in the sky and take this guy out. 100%. He's going to get capped here. Here comes the pistol shot, winding it up, and down goes the bird, I'm guessing. Yep, he gets capped in the back of the dishonorable pirate. Able to get the nice snipe. But yeah, that's probably going to be army losses. I mean, Exalted Heroes, they're okay in the leadership department, but they're not immune to psychology, and yeah, they're super beat up as well. And that's going to be a mass rout, which is crazy, right? But just shows the power of these Vampire Coast characters, man. They can do a lot of work, and I can't tell you how many games I've casted in both tournaments and my own experience where Vampire Coast appears to be losing, and it looks bad, but then you realize that their characters are really the breadwinners there, because that Vampire Crab is so tough to kill. Luther Harkin did so much work that game, and yeah, it was a good proper scrap. Both players played well. Yeah, the Forsaken got a ton of kills. I mean, maybe in the beginning, yeah, the one thing, there's a couple things I'm not a huge fan of. This build, I think, is very good. I just think if you switch the Exalted Heroes onto the Manticore version. That'll open up a little bit more gold for other assets as well. But yeah, if you're going to go for an Air Force against Coast, you have to pretty much expect Luther Harkin and or a couple Fellbats maybe. So going for double Exalted Hero and Manticore probably could beat Luther Harkin because they're much more durable. And also they're not going to rampage, which is nice. So yeah, I would probably cut the 2 Chaos Feral Manticores and, turn them into Exalted Hero Manticores with Mark of Khorne, which gives them Frenzy, Immunopsychology, 500 plus weapon strength apiece. It's pretty insane for sure. And then from there, probably can cut 1 spawn and mix in a couple Marauder Horsemen. It's really useful to have that anti-air, just so they can't troll you and fly overhead. It also gives you backline harass. But Get At Mule played a really, really good game. Both players did. Newport played awesome as well. His target priority was really good with Luther Harkin, and it was an absolute scrap. So, well played to these 2 fine gentlemen, the Warriors of Chaos Vampire Coast, Get At Mule, and Newport 5886. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. My friends, we'll most certainly be back with more content soon, and you guys take care.